the last time we sort of talked about the changing of historical exhibits was when all these angry mobs all over the country tore down historical statues all over the place, and the people who seemed to be angriest about the Smithsonian review were cheering that on. So I agree with you. Occasionally, parts of our society do look into
those statues in
museums.
museums.
And so, no, they didn't look like they were putting them in museums when they were tying ropes around them and dragging them down. You may be misremembering how it happened, but that's what happened.
I'm not here to justify people tearing things down and this and that, but I just think it is grand that right at this table, I can't hear from both of you. You can't even just say politicians should not be editing our history and trying to change our history. That's what they're doing. I don't believe they're changing our history. I don't believe that that's what they're doing. It is what he has been trying to do.
All right, we got to leave it there. Congressman Maxwell Frost, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah,
Can I finish?
I want
can
murder solved.
Can you just let her finish?
Scott's going to.
Well, if she wants to come out here and take pot shots at me, I'm not going to allow it. It's a stupid argument. I'm not going to allow it.
Scott, just let her finish. I don't even know that we've even heard the argument.
No, we heard it. We heard everything.
That you were denying. So go ahead,
Scott,
Julie.
I know you're thirsty for that Senate seat, but let me finish. What I'm going to
say. I mean, you allow this every night.
Scott, just give me 1 second here. Let's just let her finish, please.
Okay.
Just 1
Listen.
second.
I know you've got the picky thing going on, but here's what I'm going to say.
What are you thirsty for? Some kind of relevance out here?
No, well, no, actually, Scott.
I don't know what you do for a living.
Really? I elect a lot of Democrats. Scott, let me finish my thought here, please. Can I just finish what I was about to say?
This video might be all over the place, but the overarching theme of this video will be how irrelevant the liberals have become. As you saw from the intro, I always forget the host's name, but she's one of the most annoying liberal panelists I have seen on Abby Phillips' show. And she does this thing where she takes these passive, somewhat passive aggressive kind of shots at Scott Jennings, and Scott Jennings finally got tired of it. And he's like, "Yo, what you thirsty for? Relevance?" And I think that clip perfectly summarizes this video. The left is currently thirsty for relevance because when they had relevance, you saw how they misused it, right? You saw how they push out false narratives with the COVID stuff, the immigration, inflation was transitory. Right? Biden economy was good. Y'all remember those days? Y'all remember those days? When liberals had more relevance, they misused it to push false narratives. Crime is down, right? And they're still stuck on the crime issue. And I think one of the reasons why the left has lost their relevance in society, for most part, I talked about this previously on prior videos before. The left, your relevance, you're struggling to craft the narrative because the Democratic Party isn't popular. And a lot of these shows that these liberals go on are not popular either. If you do a side-by-side comparison between CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News, who out of the three has the most viewership? Fox News. Who has the least viewership? CNN. This is why Scott Jennings is essentially the star of CNN, in my opinion. Argue with me in the comment section if you believe differently. But Scott Jennings is literally carrying CNN. The only reason I watch CNN for the most part, as you guys noticed from the clips, is if Scott Jennings is involved.
Well, what about that idea? What about the idea that this is, even if one supports this effort, it's a Band-Aid, right? It's not like hiring 500 additional cops in D.C.
And I think they do have a staffing shortage in the D.C. Police Department. They need to fix that. I don't know what's authoritarian about putting some extra eyes and ears on the street, getting criminals off the street to keep people from being murdered and carjacked. Nobody in their right mind believes Washington, D.C. is safe. And to say the president's trying to help us keep people from getting murdered and carjacked and we have to stop this authoritarian push, it's just sort of ridiculous rhetoric. These Democrats don't know what to do with themselves. Every time Donald Trump tries to do something, they reflexively feel the need to oppose it without thinking through the political implications for themselves.
You think Democrats are taking the bait?
Well, I think they're acting like idiots here. The city is crime-ridden. I saw a guy get murdered in Union Station in February at 4 in the afternoon. I saw the body hit the floor at the bottom of the escalator on the second floor. And so everybody who visits there, everybody who lives there knows it's a serious problem. You have extra eyes and ears. They've arrested criminals. They're getting illegal guns off the street. People feel safer. Tourists feel safer. What is the problem?
Margaret?
And this is something that I point out a lot about Washington, D.C. 93%, I think, of the people, residents in Washington, D.C. vote Democrat. So it's a very liberal place. So when Trump says, I'll host the Kennedy Honors Show after woke passed, the liberals don't like it. Oh, you're trying to edit history. Oh, you're trying to control culture. The pot calling the kettle black. You were already doing that. And this is something I've been pointing out a lot with the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party don't like the mirror that's being pushed on their face because when they gerrymander, oh, it's for fairness. It's American. When Texas do it, oh my God, they're looking for power. They're trying to avoid accountability. They make all kinds of excuses, pretending that they're doing some moral moral thing for the American people by solidifying their own power, making it make sense. Allowing illegals to vote in their system, allowing illegals to go be counted as part of their census to give them 5 extra seats. And when they get a taste of their own medicine, they want to cry foul and act like they're doing retribution against what they act like the Republicans were the one that set the precedent. Make it make sense. And I think this is one of the, another block on this argument that I have about how liberals are losing cultural arguments, cultural relevance, because of the fact that people are seeing through them. They're like, yo, you're looking out for your own interests. You're trying to push your values onto the American people and protect. And then when Republicans try to push back or mirror that, you have problems. You have complaints.
Smithsonian, he's effectively now has some random person deciding what is appropriate for the Smithsonian to teach in terms of American history, things that don't offend parts of the MAGA base, right? So we're now literally reviewing parts of American history and parts of American culture to make sure it comports with dear leader and what the MAGA
Can we
organization
address
wants.
some of those things that are in there? Because have you looked at some of the things that are being reviewed?
Slavery was a bad thing that was to talk about.
Okay.
Like,
He's
that.
not whitewashing slavery. So
he's not?
He's not. No.
Okay.
He's not. And you cannot tie.
And this is my problem with this lady. I think her name is Julie, right? She makes a lot of assumptions about motive, that Trump's doing something for motive. Oh, MAGA don't like this, MAGA don't like that. And then a simple question, okay, do you look at what he was doing? Yes, he's saying that slavery, okay. Then they get more pushback. Trump is not whitewashing slavery. In my view, if you want to convince me, you'll give me evidence of how he's doing that. But no, it always seemed like it's character assassination. And this is what I was talking about. That's why I led in with the video with the intro of her with Scott Jennings obliterating her, calling her thirsty for relevance, is that this is the kind of pot shots that Scott Jennings was complaining about. You make all these assumptions, you make all this negative, you prescribe all this motive, but then when it calls for the receipts, right? We looking for the receipts. You ain't got none to provide. So all this came off of your own imagination. And I think this is why people are taking liberals less and less serious the more as time go on, honestly. But I digress. Let's continue with the debate.
Imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race, which is pretty much what every single exhibit does. But let's talk about the fact that when you look at
anti-slavery,
let's talk about the fact
slavery in America was.
do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans owned slaves?
But it was a system of white supremacy.
You realize that slavery is thousands of years old?
White people were
do you know
the slave
who
owners.
was the first race to try to end slavery? Well, what's controversial?
I'm very surprised.
This is an extraordinary exercise in historical revisionism.
I'm really surprised.
Historical revisionism. That's not historical revisionism, bro. Slavery was a human sin. Yes, slavery was practiced all around the world. The reason the U.S. got slaves in the first place is because Africans enslaved them first. Whoever you guys are complaining about, right? And then you got shipped here for what, a bottle of wine? Who did that to you? It wasn't a white person. A black person did that to your ancestors first. But you want to complain about the end result, but you wanted to complain about the very people that started off your slave trade. Africa was making a lot of money off of y'all, but y'all ain't trying to get reparations from Africa, right? And this is the crap that many people are pointing out, because look, Democrats love to say that we're a multiracial democracy, right? Multiracial republic. They love to say this ish, but they don't want to recognize that in every demographics history, they had slavery. They face hardship, problems. But in America, we only focus, when it comes to certain topics, we only want to highlight one group of people. Isn't that racism? Slavery affected every group of people in the world. Usually you're enslaved by your own people until we got ships. Then that's when you get interracial, cross-racial slavery once we got ships. But it was common in human history to be enslaved by people who had the same skin color as you because you lost a war, right? Your tribe lost a battle. But you want to pretend slavery only pertains to one group of people. That's racism in and of itself. You only want to highlight racism, why? Or slavery for this one reason. Why? Because it helps the left, the progressive left, push a certain narrative.
Do you realize that
Jillian, I'm surprised that you're trying to litigate who was the beneficiary of slavery and
I'm
who
not.
was not.
What I'm trying to tell you is
in
that
the context of American history.
Okay.
In the context of American history, what are you saying is incorrect by
What I'm
saying
is
that
you
it was white
cannot-
people oppressing black people?
Every single thing is like, oh, no, this is all because white people bad. And that's just not the truth. Like, for example, every single exhibit, I have a list of every single one. Like, people migrated from Cuba because white people bad. Not because of Castro. Yes, no, it's in there. That's what I'm saying. You don't actually know what's in there. Do you know that when you walk in the front door,
what exactly,
the first thing you see is the gay flag?
Jillian, you have a lot of stuff in front of you.
Yeah, I do,
What
because
exactly
I don't, because here's the thing.
are you talking about?
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Yeah, please.
There's one called Change Your Game, right? This has been an installation there. Is gender testing fair in sports? Does that, and then it goes on to talk about how it's complex to do gender testing in sports. It's not complex. It's basic science. That's untrue. It's XX chromosome, XY.
But Trump is practicing revisionist history. You putting revisionist crap. Gender's been something that since the beginning of human time, right? And you're here trying to revise it, essentially. Redefine it. And this is the thing that Democrats love to do and liberals love to do, leftists love to do. They love to redefine things. Socialists love redefining things. This is why socialists, when they take over power, they try to burn any instance to remind you of prior history. So that way you can't compare socialism to the previous system. That's what they did in Venezuela, Cuba, habits, right? And Trump sees that and says, oh, this is woke. This crap is woke. Oh, you got a gay flag the minute you come into this Smithsonian museum. Take that out of there. Oh, you trying to put this framing about slavery, about how it's white people bad, white supremacy, when only less than 2%, she said, of white people own slaves. All of them were Democrat, by the way, right? Democrat was a party that protected slavery. They don't want to put that history in there, though. Okay, right? And more people died in the Civil War to help free the slaves, technically, as part of the Civil War. There was more white people that died than owned slaves. There was about 400,000 slave owners. How many people died? How many white people died in the Civil War? 600 and almost 700,000 white people, white men died during the Civil War. So technically, right, if you want to do the ancestral, cultural kind of argument, white people can claim, hey, we don't need to give you reparations because white people died to essentially free you with the Civil War. There was more people that died in the Civil War than owned slaves. So if you want to cascade, it's a system of white supremacy, then you shouldn't get any reparations because white people essentially paid in blood for every slave owner they had. They two times more people died in the Civil War to free you. I'm just saying. And this is all I'm trying to say is this is all a framing battle. All this is a perception battle right now. How you perceive history. And then you use history as a way to give yourself moral superiority or a moral advantage so you can push things that you would not get if you were treated truly like an equal. But I digress. Let's continue.
Chromosome. That's sports. Is it fair to have biological men competing against biological women in sports? No. But why is this in the Smithsonian? So it's been completely captured.
First of all, I don't.
And
think
it's totally partisan.
First of all, we don't have time to litigate
of
all of this.
Of course we don't, because then you're going to lose the argument. Everything is racialized, just like you're trying to do to me now.
Excuse me.
It's like, I can't believe you're trying to suggest, that slavery
just to
is
be
a good
clear,
thing.
you brought up race.
No,
this was a conversation about the arts, and you brought up race.
It isn't.
You brought up.
But the whole point of this is that the issue
you brought up.
One thing I find annoying too, and I think Abby Phillips gets called out a lot for this, is that when a guest says something that she don't quite agree with, she's quick to cut them off. She's quick to try to tamper them down so she can get a word in. And in the intro, you saw when Scott Jennings was offended by something that Julia said, and he's like, "Hey, I'm not going to sit here and let her take pot shots at me." Abby Phillips didn't correct her at all, right? Hey, Julia, you shouldn't be trying to take pot shots at Scott Jennings. Hey, just make your case, make your point. Don't involve him in your statement. She never give any kind of correction to the leftists or the left-wing people on the panel. And I think that's something that a lot of people are starting to notice about her show. But who am I? I digress. But this political litmus test on the arts, it's correct. I believe it's correct. If you look at the art museums, it's very heavily dominated by liberal ideology, liberal proxy. It screams liberalism. They have culturally taken over that institution, and everything they push is political, right? But I digress.
You brought up slavery, and you brought up the question of whether you brought up the question of whether or not slavery in the United States is about race. The answer is
no, I
yes.
Didn't. I did not say
in the United States
don't
is
straw man
about
my argument
race.
because that's not what I said.
So what are you
brought
talking
up
about?
Slavery, and what I was talking about is that this isn't really about that. When you make every single exhibit about white imperialism when it isn't relevant at all, that is a problem. So what you're talking about...
Her argument is essentially that liberals on the left use art as a way to demonize white people, demonize America, right? And this is what Trump is against. Trump is against that. How can you push out things that you're trying to inspire a negative view on the country that you supposedly say you care about, right? How are you supposed to have a good marriage if every time someone asks you about your wife, you're saying something bad and negative about her? Do people would perceive your marriage as being a stable, happy marriage? No. So why would we allow people in a country to continuously disparage the country, saying it's a racist and bad place to live at, but no black people are rushing out of here in droves? Only rich liberal women are leaving this country in droves, right? But you want to keep complaining how bad and unsafe this place is. Then when Trump tries to do something about it, you then complain, oh, he's being a dictator. Like you can't win with these people. And I think this is the argument that I think Julian Michaels here is trying to say is that, hey, your art, all this stuff is politicized already. Trump's suggestion about it being a political litmus test is true because look at the narrative you put out here. If you guys were doing this to black people, Abby Phillips would be calling it racist. Oh, black people are the worst scourge on American society. Imagine if there was a museum documenting that, oh, black people commit 50% of the crime and they're only 13% of the population. It's because they're evil, right? But no, Abby Phillips will push back and say that's racist to assume that. You shouldn't judge an entire race of people based on the actions of individuals. And Julian was able to point out, hey, only 2% of the white people own slaves. So how are you going to disparage the whole white race in America? Oh, it's because it's a system. Okay, people can say the thing about black crime. Oh, it's because of the culture. You get what she's going with this. You're pushing racism, essentially. You're demonizing a whole group of people based on the color of their skin. And then when Trump wants to stop doing that, stop doing this exaggerated dramatization for political ends, you get mad and saying, oh, you're trying to revise history. No, we're trying to reframe history because you framed history as a means of being a political weapon that a lot of black liberals love to use. And she pointed it out. Oh, you try to gaslight me saying that, oh, I can't believe you're bringing this up. And I think a lot of people, this is why a lot of liberals are losing relevance right now, because we're starting to notice, hey, you hate religion, but then you're the same people who use religion and throw it back in people's face. And people are starting to get tired of the tactics that a lot of liberals deploy. But I digress. I'll let the video wrap up.
Cubans leaving Cuba and you make it about white people bad. That's not accurate.
Can I just say,
that's my point.
All right, we're going to move on.
I would say on the arts.
Yeah, you want to move on because you can't really argue what she's trying to say or where she's leading this to. And I think this is why a lot of liberals are like, I don't know. I just think a lot of people are like liberals have, I think this is the least trustworthy they've ever been, because liberals are used to saying something and everyone automatically assume that it's credible, right? And conservatives used to always speak and everyone will always disbelieve what conservatives say. That's why conservatives always have to come up with some evidence or some observable facts that helps highlight their point, so that way it can't be easily dismissed, because liberals have a bad habit of dismissing people's concerns. And I think that's one of the number one reasons leading to their irrelevancy. But that's just me. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video. If you found this video helpful, please share this video. It really does help me out in the algorithm, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.